I'm taking away something from every trader who's on your show, because ultimately, we're not inventing anything new. I mean, always ask, Marcus, what's the best trading strategy? Well, the best trading strategy is...
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today is going to be a special day. I have my man, Markus Heikutter, who's going to be talking with us about trading and his journey. He's been trading for over 20 plus years, and you are all in for a treat. So, Markus, welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me. I mean, big fan of the show. I mean, you have interviewed so many traders. I watch the interviews and I'm always taking a nugget away where I say, oh, that's really good.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And, I'd love to get started on, what got you into this world to begin with? What got you interested in trading?
Oh my gosh, I was always fascinated by trading. In fact, I did my first trade when I was still in high school. You see, originally I'm from Germany. So back in the days, I was 18 years old in high school. I read a book from Andre Costolani that's kind of our European Warren Buffett. He's dead, but anyhow. Okay. So he got me interested and I wanted to trade. So back in the days, this was 1989. You couldn't simply open an account with a brokerage. I mean, you had to go to a bank to open an account. So I went in Germany to Deutsche Bank. Where else, right? So yep. I strolled in there, high school student, and said, "Hi, I want to open a trading account." And the banker looks at me and says, "Really? How much money are you planning to put in there?" And I said, "All of my money. 50 Deutschmark." That's kind of like $50. And he said, "No, this is not how it works." But I was very, very insistent. And yes, so I did open a trading account with 50 Deutschmark. Now, as soon as it was open, the banker said, "Okay, so what do you want to do next? What stock do you want to buy?" And I said, "Oh, that's a good question. Let's see, what stock can I buy for 50 Deutschmark?" I mean, great way to select a stock, right? Anyhow, so he said, "You know what? Right now, VW, Volkswagen, right, the German car manufacturer, is trading around 50 Deutschmark. You want to buy a share of this?" And I said, "Yes, let's do it." So there I was, proud owner of one share. So the next morning, I had to go back to school. And you see, this 1989, we didn't have any quotes online that we could check, right? So during the first recess break, I ran to the payphone, answered at my 20 cents, called the banker, and I said, "Hey, how are we doing?" And I said, "Well, Marcus, right now, market's not moving a whole lot, but the stock is up at 50 Deutschmark and 20 cents. And I thought, yes, this is great. So during the second recess break, I ran again to the payphone, spent 20 cents, called my banker and said, "How are we doing right now?" And he said, "Well, 50 Deutschmark and 30 cents. I said, "This is so awesome." So as soon as I got home from school and the markets were closed, I called the banker again. I said, "So where did we end up for the day?" And he said, "Well, Marcus, good news. You're up a whopping 1%. You're up at 50 Deutschmark and 50 cents. And I said, "This is fantastic." So next day, the same thing. And on the third day, and now my seventh call to the banker, he said, Marcus, let me stop you for just a moment. So let me ask you this. How much money are you trying to make with this stock?" And I thought, well, boy, for 50 Deutschmark, right? If I can make 10, that would be 20%. That would be amazing. So I said, yeah, I would like to make a profit of 10 Deutschmark, like $10. And he said, "Done. Come to my office. I'll give you the 10 Deutschmark and stop calling me." So there it was. This was actually my first profitable trade. But I very quickly realized that this is not a sustainable trading strategy and that I needed to get better at that. So anyhow, this is how I got started. So yeah, quite a while back.
That's amazing, man. And how old were you again? Remind me.
I must have been around 18, 19 years old. I think it was 1988. Yeah, I'm born 69, November 69. Yeah.
That's amazing. And the fact that you went through that process of like buying one share, going through that process of calling every time you had a break to find out where it was going. He was just like, "You know what? I'll give you your profits." Now that's a story. Now I'm curious, after that moment, did you start pursuing like education? Like how did you pursue to develop a strategy to find something that could work for you?
Yeah,
or
you
did
see,
you take a break? How did it go?
With a small account, I mean, I can't really trade stocks. So this is where I already started looking into options. This was back in the day. So by the time I was around 21 years old, I looked into options and I looked into straddles. Now, what I did, and this again back in the days where we had quotes in the newspaper, I was hand drawing point and figure charts looking for breakouts. And then I would put on a straddle, and I had this whole Casio little computer thingy, right? That I programmed, like a calculator that I programmed to show me my break even, my probability of success. And that's what I started doing. But I mean, I realized, okay, it doesn't work. And also, honestly, my parents weren't too thrilled that I said, "Oh yeah, I just want to become a trader." I said, "Oh no, I mean, in Germany, trust me. I mean, in Germany, we're all very risk averse. Trading is like, go away."
Mm.
So, I mean, they encouraged me to go to college, get a good education, which I did, and then after college, started working for a big company, which I did. IBM, used to work for them. But I mean, I was always trading on the side because it was just fascinating.
Ah, so you were trading inside the entire time during that process and that journey. Were you just kind of like winging it at that time, or did you have a strategy that you found that worked well for you during that time? I'm just trying to get an understanding of when you start to find like this is something I can like do forever and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, no strategy at all.
Yeah.
Actually, it was 1996. I mean, I'm dating myself right now. This is when we had supercharts, which later on became TradeStation. So this was kind of the first charting software that you could program. And I thought, this is so awesome. So I started learning about indicators, and I had the big book of indicators. I mean, 400 or 500 pages where all the indicators were in there, and I started programming them in because that was kind of my background in college. So I majored in business and computer science, so kind of
Mm.
a dual major. Anyhow, so this is where I thought, oh my gosh, if one indicator is good, two indicators are better. If two indicators are good, three are better, four are better. So I plotted so many indicators off my screen that I didn't see the price action anymore. And I completely curve fitted this system because I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm. Can you elaborate for the people who are listening right now what you mean by you didn't know what you were doing with all those indicators?
Well, again, indicators, every developer of an indicator says this is the best. I mean, Wells Wilder, when he developed the RSI, says, oh my gosh, this is how you can identify overbought and oversold situations. And then John Bollinger comes along and said, oh, all this kind of stuff. This, but I mean, let's just talk about standard deviations. And so I didn't understand that there is typically or mainly two types of indicators, right? I mean, one is a kind of a trend following indicator like moving averages, like Bollinger Bands. And another one is more like an oscillator trying to identify overbought and oversold situations. Now, back in the days, I didn't know this. And I read about every indicator and what the inventor of the indicator said. And I became an indicator junkie, right? So this is where I didn't understand that indicators are crutches. I mean, an
Mm.
indicator tells you what you already see on the chart. Just it makes it a little bit easier. I mean, a moving average just shows you that the chart is going off. It's eliminating some of the noise. And I didn't get this. It took me a few years before I got this. Oh, when you use indicators in a smart way, you're taking a little bit of the noise out of there. And basically, like a crutch, you're seeing what you should be seeing, but in a clearer way.
I'm glad you elaborated on that because I know also as new traders, sometimes we get lost and try to only find that holy grail indicator, right? That one that's going to make us successful, right? Do you have something to say about that? Yeah.
I think we all as traders go
Yeah.
through this. That we, I mean, at some point we try to find either the holy indicator or the holy combination of indicators, or we think that we are smarter than everybody else, and we think that we come up with our own strategy that nobody ever has seen before and nobody ever has thought about. And usually it's going horribly wrong. I mean, this is where I said that I'm taking away something from every trader who's on your show, because ultimately we're not inventing anything new. We are just looking for, okay, what trading strategy fits our style the best? You see,
Hmm.
I mean, always ask Marcus, what's the best trading strategy? Well, the best trading strategy is the one that lets you sleep at night. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, worrying about your position, what have you done? Right? Your trading strategy doesn't fit your lifestyle. I mean, in the beginning, when I was day trading, I was dreaming of bars and candles. I mean, I was kind of a nervous wreck, right? And eventually, and this is only what comes with time, eventually you'll find a trading strategy where you say, you know what? I'm comfortable with the strategy. I understand that there will be wins. I understand that there will be losses. I understand my probabilities, my profit potential, and I'm okay with it. It's
Mm.
almost like, you see, when somebody says, I'm becoming a doctor. Okay, what do you become? An ER doctor, a pediatrician, right? I mean, you start out in the same way we all start out and say, we're going to become a trader. And then what is it? You become a day trader, a swing trader, a stock trader, a forex trader, a futures trader, right? So you start out with the goal, and eventually you'll find something that suits your personality.
Mm. I love that you said that, man. And the fact that you emphasize personality, because there's so many styles out there to trade, and if it doesn't fit well with you, so what did you discover? Because you found all these indicators, you went down that hole, and then after that, what did you discover for yourself that fit your personality? Like
Oh my
how
gosh.
did you discover it?
Back in the days, I was a day trader. I like day trading futures because, I mean, I started with day trading stocks, and one of the challenges with day trading stocks for me was that I came up before the markets opened with my short list, and I kind of had like 10 or 12 stocks on my short list that I wanted to watch, and I had all this multi-monitor setup, right? And I brought them all up. But then whenever I was watching one stock, the other one started moving, right? So this is where I decided, no, okay, that's probably not a good idea. So I decided to trade 6 futures markets. Why 6? It was easy for me to chart 6 markets on one monitor. So I had one monitor with the charting software, one with my trading platform, and another to do some research. So 3 monitor setup. And this is where I was just getting addicted to the leverage. And then I love the idea of scalping. I was often scalping crude oil for 8 or 10 ticks, the S&P for 4 or 6 ticks. And I mean, if you compare this, for those of you who have never done, that's kind of 1 point in the S&P, right? I mean, this is kind of like 10 cents in crude oil. So, I mean, it's not big moves, but that's what I used to do back in the days.
So you started off so after the indicator portion, you started off day trading, and how long did it take you to really find what worked for you, that you were confident in, that was your style? How long did it take you to find that?
I want to say it took me a few years. I mean, it's always hard. It's almost like asking you, hey, Alex, when did you become a confident driver? Right? I mean, you
Mm.
remember the time when you were still with your mom or dad or friend on a parking lot, right? Doing this, and you probably remember the first times you drove a car, and then at some point it clicked. But when exactly was it? So I want to say it probably took me a couple of years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years.
Yep.
it's I really don't remember that moment when it suddenly became second nature and say, okay, yeah, that works.
Would you say like that there was something that was holding you back though during the process that you had to really overcome?
Oh, absolutely. So what was holding me back is the illusion that we all have when we start trading, that there will be this one trade that is the 10 bagger, the 100 bagger.
Mm.
It's the one trade where you risk $100 and you make $10,000. The one trade that really takes off, right? So, I mean, in the very beginning, when I started trading, I had the idea, okay, I'm developing a system where there's no losing trades at all. There's only winning trades, 100% winning percentage. And then at some point, you realize that's not going to happen, right? So you understand that there will be losses. So now you think, okay, I'm using the small losses. And then that's where I had the book from Van Tharp talking about the multiple R, basically where you
Mm.
have R, your risk, which is $100, and you're striving for a multiple R, right? Like a 3 times the risk, 4 times the risk. And then, of course, I mean, this is when the internet came along. Yeah, congratulations. And we saw all this. Oh my God, with options trading, you're making 254%, you're making 312%, and 1,000%. And that's what was holding me back, because I was chasing those
Mm.
trades. Instead of focusing what I do these days, I call it SRC profits: systematic, repeatable, and consistent, meaning that I do have a system, a set of rules. And again, I mean, these rules, I follow them as much as possible. And I think you did an excellent video about it. Every trader has sometimes when they're bending the rules a little bit. But I mean, you want to have rules in the first place, right? So that it is
Yep.
systematic, are repeatable. that I can do this over and over. So I don't have to wait for the next Tesla, for the next Nvidia, for the next AI boom, right? That I can do it almost every single day. And then consistent, meaning that I don't have these massive swings in my portfolio that I used to have, right? Where, yippee, we were on a winning streak and made a lot of money. And then, oh, we're on a losing streak, giving it
Yep,
all
yep.
back and then some, right? So rather focusing on these small but consistent winners, because I noticed the windfall profits, they happen automatically. Every now and then, if you do it long enough, Alex, we're getting lucky. We have this lucky trade. We have the trade that takes off. But trying to chase that unicorn and
Yep.
trying to really just focusing on this, that was holding me back. That was destroying multiple trading accounts.
How'd you overcome that? Because I know someone's listening to this right now, like, oh my gosh, Marcus, I'm literally dealing with that right now, right? I'm constantly finding myself in those big P&L swings.
How do you overcome this? I mean, you listen to interviews like this where people repeat it over and over and over again. I mean, for me, it was reading the book Market Wizards back in the days. I mean, again, I'm dating myself. I've been around for so long that, yes, I've still been reading books, but this was interviews with great traders where they were talking about, okay, focus on consistency, focus on consistency. And when you start out as traders, no, that's not what we want. We want the 300% gain. We want the 1,000% gains that we want, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, all right, get this out of your system as quickly as possible. And you see, if you focus on small gains, even if it is just $10, $50, $100, depending on your account size, you'll be surprised. They end up after a month, you look back and you say, oh my gosh, oh wow, oh look at this, the account grew a little bit, right?
Yep.
And of course, it's always super frustrating when you have a small account. If you start with $1,000, right, and you have gains that are $5, $10, right, it takes a while until it is at $1,100. But trust me, this is how these small gains they start accumulating, and it's like a snowball effect on your account. It's wow, I love it.
Someone asked me, what's the most important thing you want in a broker? And I said, great customer service, fast execution, a large number of locates for hard to borrow stocks, low prices on locates, reasonable commission, and rebates on routing. And that's why I use Cobra Trading every single day. They excel at everything that's important to me. Sign up now by using the link below, and Cobra Trading will give you 1 free month of software and 33% off commission for life. So what are you waiting for? Work with the best just like I do and click the link below. It's amazing to me some of the things you're highlighting, because it's so true that like trading itself, when we're focused on the money, we're trying to like really make those big gains, like you really strive away from what makes good trading, which is execution, focused on that.
Yeah.
What I'm curious, Marcus, is was there ever a time that during this process when you maybe you started to find some success, but then you kind of start to I would say second guess all of your ability? Maybe start to think, man, am I really that good? Am I really like, because maybe you had like a little weak moment, maybe a week, a month, that something happened. Did that ever happen to you during your journey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had losing streaks, and yes, I think like every trader, you get to a point where you're just doubting yourself and saying, okay, they were right. They were always right when they said you can't make money with trading. Eventually, you lose it all. I mean, I grew up in Germany. This is what you hear when you tell people I'm trading. They say, "Oh yeah, you're just gambling. I mean, you'll lose it all, right?" I mean, and this is the mindset with which you grow up. I think it's super difficult for us as traders to stay positive, to stay optimistic. And I think besides having the discipline to follow your plan, being optimistic is one of the most important traits as a trader. I mean, and by optimistic, I don't mean being just a blind illusional or delusional optimist and say, oh yeah, this trade will work out. No, it's just, okay, I'll make it work. It's like every other job, right? I mean, you can either make it work or you give up and you bumble from one job to another and never get really good at it. I mean, same with making money. You can own a business, you can invest in real estate, you can trade, and with trading you have so many different ways to trade, and you just need to decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. And this is I'm just incredibly stubborn. I mean, I'm German. We're stubborn, really stubborn.
Well, look, I'm curious on the whole idea of how one finds their style, right? Because I know that's something you mentioned at the beginning, and I know you have your own style now. You first started day trading. What do you do currently? Like, are you more of a investor now or a swing trader? Like, what's your style currently?
It's definitely more swing trading, and it's trading stocks and options right now. So one of the strategies that I love is the so-called wheel strategy, where you're combining stocks and options. So the idea is that you're selling options, especially specifically put options to collect premium. Then you buy stocks kind of at a discount. This is what I really like about the idea. And then you're selling calls. So we can maybe talk about it later a little bit more in detail what it is. And in order to do this, I only trade, I want to say 15, 20 minutes a day, and not even every day. I mean, I love trading. When I'm not traveling, I'm trading. When I'm on the West Coast and I would have to get up at what,
4:30.
5:45 to
Yeah.
be there when the markets open at 6:30, that's when I might skip a day or two, right? So, and that's the beautiful thing about my trading style, because it allows me the lifestyle that I'm looking for, right? Where I can
Mm.
travel, where I don't have to really watch my positions every single day. And the other strategy that I like to use is I call it the WTF strategy, which stands for, by the way, win the fear, right? It's
Okay.
when you see a solid stock that was in an up move and has a correction, right? It's kind of buying the
Mm.
dip. Um, it just works.
Interesting. And I know you help a lot of traders as well. What have you felt over the years has been like the biggest hurdle for new traders? Could you name one, or is there a couple?
Yeah, I think one of the big hurdles, besides what we already mentioned, like chasing these unicorns, is um, understanding that you need to find your own style. I mean, don't try to become Alex. Don't try to become Marcus. I mean, watch us trade, see what we are doing, see if it makes sense for you. And in the same way as I said, I'm watching all the interviews of traders, and then I'm taking a nugget out of this, and eventually you'll find a style that fits you. And see, I always say it's like learning how to bake, right? I mean, how do you do it? First of all, you find somebody with whom you resonate. I like Bobby Flay. I like his flavors, right? So this is where I'm following Bobby Flay as a cook versus a million other cooks, just because I like him, I like his philosophy. And then you first get a recipe from that cook and you follow that recipe. When you do, you probably get a result that's similar. Now, as you get more experience, right, you automatically will make this recipe your own. You will develop your own recipes. And this is the same with trading, right? Find a trader with whom you connect where you say, you know what, these principles make
Mm.
sense. The risk management makes sense. The way how he looks at trades, the account size, the time in the markets, the instrument that is being traded, that makes sense to me. Let me just watch it a little bit in the same way as you would watch a cook show at first, right? I mean, this
Mm.
is where we have YouTube. Yay!
Right.
Right? I mean, you can watch traders all day long. And then you dive a little bit more deeper into it and you try the strategy. And I really believe it makes a lot of sense to first do it on a simulator, on a paper
Mm.
trading account. And I
Yes.
know, sounds so boring. I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, especially if you have some trading spirit. I don't want to do it on a paper trading account. I want to jump right in. And see, I always say a paper trading account is like learning how to fly in a simulator. Once you master the simulator, it doesn't mean that now you will be the most awesome pilot, right? And same with trader. If you make money on a
Mm. Good
simulator,
point.
it doesn't mean that you will make money in real time. But I can promise you this: if you crash and burn every single time in the simulator, you should not get in a real plane. If you shred your account into pieces on a simulator, you should not be trading with live money. The real money will not suddenly make your trading style, your strategy, or your discipline successful. This is why I believe that simulators and paper trading has a way for every, or has a place for every trader, and it's super important.
How long would you recommend a new trader just to at least dabble in it for a length of period? Is there a recommendation?
You see, I personally always like to go with the rule for at least 40 trades, because when you do at least 40 trades, the numbers become statistically more significant. Plus, it is very likely that now you have a few different market scenarios. Fortunately, these days, the markets change every day, right? We go from high volatility to low volatility, from trending to crashing to sideways. So with 40 trades, whether you do it as a day trader or as a swing trader, usually you have a pretty good sample of different market conditions, and you have a definitely better sample than having just three trades. Three trades. Oh my gosh, all of them are winning trades. This strategy is awesome. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Or three trades. Oh, they're all losing trades. So this strategy sucks, right? I mean, just 40 trades, more is always better. But I also know that as traders, we're impatient. I'm impatient, right? I mean, I want to jump in right away, but I think it helps.
And you also brought up earlier, Marcus, the idea of, if you have $1,000 and you're only, you might be making $10, risking 10 to make 20 or so forth. Can you explain, because there's so many people out there who do have like a $30,000 account or a $50,000 account, and they're brand new. They don't trade, right? And they've done paper trading, because you've already heard your recommendation of at least 40 trades, and they're going to jump in with that account, right? And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this. And then you have the other guy, Trader A, who has $1,000 account. Do you recommend everyone the same, as in terms of like, hey, just use 1% of your account, no matter what level they are and what entry their account is with? Or do you recommend something a little different?
You see, I know that a few weeks ago you did an interview with Rob Booker, and
Yeah.
Rob is my best friend, right? And I really follow his philosophy, and I think we should link to this in the description. Rob says you start trading with a size so small that it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, right? So this is where, is it 1%? Is it 2%? If you have a $30,000 account and losing $300 is making you nervous and getting you sweaty palms, $300, which is 1%, is too much. Yeah. However, if you say, oh yeah, my gosh, I mean, $300, no big deal, then it is okay. The same with the $1,000 account. See, you might have, I don't know, several accounts where, I don't know, they're like $50,000, $100,000, right? For me, if I trade a new strategy, I sometimes throw $10,000, $20,000 in the account. And honestly, I mean, based on my account size, if this money is gone, it doesn't change my lifestyle.
Right.
So this is where I might trade this more aggressively, knowing that this is my play money, kind of the money that you go to Vegas with, right? That I'm willing to afford to lose. So, and this is different for everybody. So whether you have $1,000 account, if this is your only $1,000 and you kind of needed to pay your rent at the end of the day, I mean, don't trade at all. I mean, this is not a good idea, right? And if on $1,000 account, start with $10. It shouldn't make you nervous. If you lose $10, it's like kind of not a big deal. I mean, you spend it on coffee or something like this anyways, right? Yep. So start with an amount that that translates into something where I say, oh yeah, that was not a big deal. And again, Rob is really so much better in explaining it.
No, it's a good point. No, I love that. I love that idea. But also, I'm curious on the thought process of goals, right? Yeah. Like, because that's a very common question we get on YouTube from people watching the show. They'll be like, what is good? What's a good way to set my goal? And they're brand new at trading. So, like, I personally, I'll let you answer that. I'm curious what you think.
So I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'6", right? I mean, you don't see it here on camera, but so this is when I was in high school. My sports coach said, hey, you do high jump. And I said, okay, whatever, don't care, right? So he said, okay, here's how we're going to train. So we put this bar, and he put it 2 feet high. Is it 2 feet? You must be kidding me, right? I mean, I can walk over 2 feet. That is not a goal. He said, no, jump over it. And so I did. And then he raised it 2 inches at a time. All right. And it went to 2.5, 3 inches. Then it went to 3 feet, 3.5, 4, 4.5. Right. And then suddenly it was here. And you say, oh, okay. Or here, I don't know, wherever it is, 4.5 feet up. It gets more challenging. And you see, this is what I see with traders. When traders start, they set the bar immediately 8 feet high. And then they say, oh, this doesn't work. I think for traders, if you're new, start with the goal of 30% per year. I know this sounds ridiculous, right? Because you always hear, oh my gosh, 30% in a day, 1% in a day, 1% per trade, and I'm placing 10 trades a day. Okay, great. Yeah. Be as stupid as I am when I rolled my eyes at the coach where I said, 2 feet high, you must be kidding me. Okay. Shoot for the 30%. Try this for a month or 6 weeks and see if you get it, right? And then, all right, raise the bar. Try 35, try 40%. There are traders who can achieve these enormous percentages, but trust me, they didn't start there. I mean, they started at a lower amount. So set the bar so low. I mean, set yourself up that you can't fail, that you will succeed. And this is what I recommend traders in the beginning. Set a goal that is so ridiculously low that you will achieve it, because then success begets success, right? I mean, you achieve a little goal and you get a little bit more confident. Because, Alex, ultimately, what it is all about as a trader is to become confident. If you are not the unshakable trader, if you don't have confidence, number one, in your trading strategy, number two, in your ability to execute the strategy, yeah, all of this will never, ever work, because you will be sitting there, you see a setup, you want to pull the trigger, and you're doubting yourself. And here's what happens. You doubt yourself, you don't pull the trigger. What happens? The trade works out beautifully. Now you start getting angry. Now these emotions are coming in. Now the revenge trading comes in. Now you start hating. First of all, you hate the markets, but what you really do is you hate yourself for not being confident enough to pull the trigger. And how do you gain confidence? Again, you set a goal so ridiculously low that you can't fail. And then you set it a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And this is how you gain confidence in your trading strategy, in your ability to trade, in your ability to execute it. And this is how you become an unshakable trader.
I love it, man. Unshakable trader, here we come. I'm sure everyone needs to rewind that section and listen to it again, because it's very important what Markus just said. And speaking of the unshakableness and you want to have confidence, you mentioned something during that about executing the actual trade, like the execution part. Can you explain what you mean by that? Like, because you can have a great strategy, right? You know what to do, but if you don't could you explain that part?
Every trader's trading strategy tells you basically three things, right? What to trade, when to enter, when to exit, and then also you should have risk and money management in there. But in terms of a setup, right, whether it is a futures market, a stock, an option, so it's what to trade and when to enter. So you have very specific criteria when you say, now I'm entering. That's great. And now, see this, I've even a mug. Follow your plan, right? I mean, one thing is to have a plan. The second is follow it. So when this signal occurs, you have to execute it, no matter what, right? I mean, do this in the beginning. It's following the recipe. Later on, as you have more experience, and if you have been cooking for 5 years, then you can modify it, and then you can add a pinch of salt versus, 3 grams of salt. But be precise in the beginning, right? Follow your setups, because otherwise you will never know if your trading plan is a good one, if your trading strategy is good, if you never execute it, because then you look at your account and you say, well, this looks horrible. This doesn't work. Well, because you didn't execute the plan that you have created.
I love that, man. And then, because so many people just are looking for that strategy and keep jumping strategies, thinking it's that, when it could be their execution, right? Their form of execution. Now, I'm curious, man, on the whole idea around traders dealing with tons of failure, like setback after setback. You have those traders who are like, you know what, I've been trading for 3 years, 4 years, and I haven't found it. Should I give up? Like, have you been asked that by any traders who have that kind of experience?
Yeah, and I mean, just absolutely honest. I mean, if you have been doing it for a long, long time and you still haven't found the trading strategy that's best for your style, and you still don't know what you're doing wrong, yeah, after a few years, it might be time to call it. I mean, it's the same. I admired, if you want to become a doctor, but you fade every time and pass out when you see blood, at some point you have to say, that's probably not the right profession for you. I mean, trading is fascinating. I love talking about trading. And we know it's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Trading requires that you are taking risks. It requires that you live with uncertainty. We never know what the next trade will be. We're playing the odds. We're playing the probabilities. So you kind of got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable taking risks. You got to be comfortable losing sometimes. It's part of this. You got to be comfortable in these setbacks, right? And if you're not comfortable and you just realize after a few years that you're still not comfortable, there's other ways to make money. Trust me. I mean, there's if you look at the richest people in the world, it's not necessarily all traders, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
there's some other
Business
ways. I
owners.
mean, you might be better in sports. You get played very well. I'm suck at sports. This is why I have to trade. So no other way for me.
That's amazing. From your perspective and where you're at today, is there anything that you're currently working on for yourself that you want to be better at or improve on?
That is an excellent question. Uh, I'm very happy where I am right now with my trading. I mean, I want to be honest. I don't want to seem cocky because it almost sounds cocky, but I'm turning 55 this year and I'm very comfortable. So one of the things that I learned a few years ago, you see, until a few years ago, my goal was to trade for a living because that's what we all want, trade for a living. And then I realized, oh, this trading for a living still requires me to work. It still requires me to look at the markets. So I became obsessed with creating passive income streams, and I do this through high-paying dividend ETFs. So I very actively trade, and then I have an income account that I want to grow. So my goal is to keep growing my income account so that I can be very happy with 12 to 15% per year. And again, for a trader, this sounds absolutely boring. And when this is happening while you are cruising the world, I mean, it's a kind of a good feeling, right? So
Yep.
I'm building a passive income machine for myself that never ever runs out of money, that I can hand over to my kids and they can destroy it, right? So
Yes.
this is where I want to leave that legacy. And this is what I'm very, very actively working on. And in addition to my trading, I try to get better in understanding all these new instruments that we have these days, right? Where we have covered call ETFs, where we have wheel ETFs, and there's new coming on every week, it seems, right? So this is one of the focuses for me for the remainder of the year.
You read Market Wizards. You like watching other traders' interviews and so forth. Has there been any one trader who's made a pretty big impact on you, and maybe they said something that really helped you at some point?
I cannot pinpoint a single trader, but there's definitely multiple traders. When I learned option, I connected really well with Larry McMillan, who wrote the options Bible, right? I liked how he explained things. I like to trade a lot when day trading with Bollinger Bands, right? It's so difficult. It's not that you have this one trader that makes a massive impact. It's usually a lot of traders, and this is why I love your channel, right? Because the more you watch this or listen to it in the background while you're working out or sitting in your massage chair, that's what I do. I'm sitting in a massage chair listening to stuff. Anyhow, right, the more there's something where you say, ooh, that was pretty smart. And there's always this one nugget that you take away from every interview, from every book, where you say, oh, this is it. It's almost like asking, okay, is there one book that made a difference in your life? Maybe there's one, but it's usually just a combination of books.
That's a very good point, Marcus. I appreciate you sharing that, because at the end of the day, like that's kind of how you find your own system too. That's kind of how you find what works for you, because over time you pick everyone's different best thing that you like from them and take it, and then you make your own system. Now, you mentioned, before we start to wrap this up, by the way, I wanted to ask you this one last thing. You mentioned rules and principles, and you said, like, we have YouTube now, so you can go and just make sure they have some, like, if you vibe well with their core principles, or at least they have them. What are those core principles that you feel like no matter who you're learning from, they should at least have something around these principles? And I know you mentioned one was risk management, but
Risk
just
management. I
curious.
mean, you want to learn as much as you can about risk management and money management, right? Because I believe it's more important than the entry setups. And so this where, again, for me, it has been Van Tharp, the idea of multiple R, that you risk less than you're trying to make. Because if you're risking $100 trying to make $150, the entry doesn't make is not that important anymore. You can basically flip a coin, more or less, right? I mean, you get the idea. It's not that easy. But I think when you get this under control, everything else becomes easier. However, most traders, including myself, in the beginning, you don't want to hear about risk and money management because often the account size is not big enough that you can even incorporate it. And this is why I focused a lot on entry signals in the beginning. Now, keep this in mind. A monkey can enter the market. The money is made and lost when you exit the market, right? So it might actually make sense to do it in the reverse order. We always think about okay, what to trade, when to enter, when to exit, and then risk management. Flip it upside down. Start with risk management, then maybe consider different exits, right? A trailing stop, scaling in, scaling out. I mean, all these different kind of things, and then start looking for the entries. Because what you will notice as you progress as a trader, that the entries become less important than you thought in the beginning. In the beginning, everybody thinks it's the most important thing, and it becomes less important as you progress as a trader.
I love that, man. You're everyone needs to rewind and rewatch this whole episode because he's dropping some really good philosophy and experience here. Because I love it. Thank you, Marcus, for sharing that. So, with that being said, I know people are going to have more questions. They're going to want to ask where to learn more about you. So, could you share with everyone on the show right now where they can learn more about you?
I have a website, Rockwell Trading. Go there. I've written a couple of books. I've my latest book that's coming out. You can download it there, I think, for free. Or as far as I know, I recorded this as an audiobook first because I'm still trying to fine tune a few things. Or just Google me on YouTube, and you'll find a YouTube channel doing a live show every morning where we're looking at the markets together. I'll show you the trades that I'm in, what I'm thinking about the markets. And this might be a good way to just see, okay, are you resonating with what I'm doing? Or you might say, oh, this doesn't make sense for me at all. And if so, no worries. There's so many other traders to learn from. I mean,
Absolutely, sure. Marcus. Well, look, man, I appreciate you so much being here today and sharing with the world, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I really admire what you do. Keep doing it, hopefully for a long, long time. I can't wait to hear when you have the 1,000th interview
Wow, thank you, man.
on the channel.